On Point with Craig's Investment Partners.
The information provided here is general in nature and it's not financial advice. It doesn't take into account your situation, objectives, goals, or risk tolerance. All investments are subject to risks and none are guaranteed. Before you make any investment decisions, we recommend you contact an investment advisor. For more information about our services or to view the Craig's Investment Partners Financial Advice Provider Disclosure Statement, please visit our website, which is craigsip.com. Welcome to On Point. I'm Mark Lister, Investment Director at Craig's Investment Partners, and I'll be talking about a range of topics including economics, portfolio strategy, investor education, and anything else that's happening out there in financial markets. Hey team, how are you all going? A little late with this one. I usually have these week ahead episodes out very early on a Sunday morning, but been a busy weekend. We had kids sport on Friday night, then we shot up to Auckland to watch the Warriors on Saturday night, didn't come back till Sunday. More kids sport somewhere else on a Sunday, so I'm only just getting to this on Sunday afternoon. Probably could have just given it a miss and had the weekend off, but I'd never do that to you fellas. I don't like to leave you hanging, and I feel like it is my job to keep you informed. So here we are, better late than never. Anyway, last week, another very strong one for the S&P 500 index in the US. It surged another 4.5%, closed at fresh highs after we saw some positive developments in the Middle East. So after being down 9.1% from its highs, which came in January, so it was down 9.1% in late March, the S&P 500 has rebounded more than 12% and it surpassed those previous highs. So it's now up 4.1% year to date and up 2.1% relative to those January highs. So if you held your nerve and resisted the temptation to sell during that volatile period, or even better, if you bought a few more bits and pieces, you'll be feeling pretty good about how things have played out for you. Anything could happen this week, but so far so good if you find yourself in that boat. Other global markets rose as well last week on the back of that positive news. Emerging market shares were up 3.2%. Europe was 2.3% higher. Other markets pretty solid too. Most of those are still below their peak that we saw from January, February. It's only the US that has really rebounded and taken on new highs, but some of those other markets are very close to where they started. So it's been a strong recovery in most places. Not quite so much here in New Zealand. The local NZX 50 was actually down 2.1% this week. So it's still down almost 5% this year and 6.2% below where it got to in January. So we haven't seen that same recovery. However, it was a very strong night on Friday night in the US. That was when we got news that the Strait of Hormuz would reopen, and we were closed when that happened. So we might play a bit of catch up when we open on Monday morning. Same with Australia. However, it all depends what sort of news we see between now and then. It's been a really busy period. We got those positive signs of resolution last week, and on Friday during the US trading session, that's when we got the reports that the Strait would reopen and would remain open for the period of the ceasefire. However, it was only a day later on Saturday when Iran came out and said it had actually reimposed the closure because the US didn't meet all of its obligations. So, geez, I cannot keep up, and I'm not even going to try and speculate on what might happen next, because in the short period between me recording this, then editing it, then publishing it, something else might happen, so we'll wait and see. Anyway, interest rates, they slipped back a little bit last week as well as some of the tensions eased. The US 10-year Treasury yield fell from 4.32 to 4.25. Here in New Zealand, our 5-year swap rate ended the week 6 basis points lower at 3.91%. The key release we saw here in New Zealand was the housing market report, the latest one from the REINZ. This was for March. The housing market's still pretty sluggish. You've got mortgage rates that have just pushed a little bit higher. You've got rising oil prices that have added to the nervousness. So sales volumes improved over the previous month, but they still have slipped slightly on a seasonally adjusted basis, and they were pretty flat on an annual basis, and the market was pretty weak a year ago. So not a lot of movement there. The days to sell, 41, both nationally and in Auckland. The house price index was down slightly nationally, most regions falling a little bit. Prices are basically unchanged over the past 12 months and still about 15% below that record high that we saw way back in late 2021. Looking ahead to this week, here in New Zealand, there's a few things to watch. We will get the results of another dairy auction. This will be out early on Wednesday morning. Prices fell 3.4% a fortnight ago. That was the first decline that we'd seen since late 2025. The headline index had increased 6 consecutive times leading up to that, so it was a pretty long winning streak. Price is still not looking too bad after slumping last year. They've rallied about 20% this year, sitting at fairly healthy levels, and we've seen Fonterra increase its milk price forecast payout a couple of times as well. So it is sitting at $9.40 to $10, midpoint of $9.70. That's on Wednesday morning. A day earlier than that, we will have a couple of interesting things to watch. So Tuesday will be a busy day here in New Zealand. We will get the quarterly survey of business opinion, the QSBO. That's out at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. This is released by the NZIER, and it's a very well-regarded survey, been around for a long time, and we know the Reserve Bank pays attention to it, so we should as well. Now, when you cast your mind back to the last release, which was the final 3 months of calendar 2025, so the December quarter, we saw confidence hit an 11-year high. So very good. Hiring intentions jumped. Investment intentions were pretty solid too. That is expected to reverse because of what we've seen in the Middle East and what that means for confidence and price expectations and cost expectations. So businesses are likely to be markedly more cautious in the face of that surge in oil prices and the associated expectation of falling demand and rising cost pressures. If we look at the corresponding ANZ Business Outlook surveys, those come out monthly. The QSBO is only out quarterly. The ANZ Business Outlook surveys for the same period probably give us a good steer of what we will see in the QSBO on Tuesday morning. That same day, in fact, just 45 minutes later at 10:45 a.m., we will get the March 2026 quarter inflation report, the Consumer Price Index for New Zealand. Now, the headline inflation rate currently sitting at 3.1%, and that's the first time it's been above the top of the RBNZ's 1 to 3% target band since the middle of 2024, so almost 2 years ago. So the RBNZ has that target range of 1 to 3%. It's their job to keep inflation within that range, and they obviously aim for a midpoint of 2. So they've pushed above that range now. They've let it go up to 3.1%. They haven't been too concerned up till now because they were expecting it to come back into that range this week, down to 2.8, and then I think down to 2.7 in the June quarter. But things have changed with the higher fuel prices and what they mean. So the Reserve Bank is now expecting it to come in at 3% this week. Market forecasts are a little below that, 2.9, but that's still higher, no matter whose you believe, that's still higher than what people were expecting, 6 weeks ago before all this happened. However, it is the June 2026 quarter where a bigger impact will be felt because of recent events. That is when the Reserve Bank sees it pushing as high as 4.2%. Now, that would be well above their previous forecast of 2.7. That's what they had penciled in before the war broke out. So 2.7 right up to 4.2. Now, that's just a forecast. It's just an estimate. Things could change between now and then, but when they last spoke to us, that is what they put forward as an educated guess. So that would be more than double that 2% midpoint of their target band that they're aiming for. Now, a lot of uncertainty around the outlook. It depends on the path of oil prices, depends on what the currency does. Kiwi dollar's actually rebounded a little bit lately against the US dollar, that is, not so much against the Aussie. But that is good for inflation because it means all the things we buy, including fuel, get ever so slightly cheaper. So lots of balls up in the air at the moment. We also don't know how some of these increased costs will be passed on in the form of transport, airfares, food prices, that sort of thing. But when you look at market pricing for the official cash rate, market pricing implies an 88% chance of an OCR hike in July. 88% chance of a hike. So that's interesting, isn't it? And almost 75 basis points of hikes are priced in over the calendar year. So that's basically the market saying we are pretty sure that the OCR will go up not once, not twice, but 3 times in 25 basis point increments. And that would mean it ends the year at 3%. It's 2.25% right now. Will that happen? Look, I don't know, to be honest. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll just have to see how things play out. What I would say is that in July, the Reserve Bank won't have got the figures for that June quarter consumer price index. They'll still be waiting for those. So if they do choose to make a move then, that would suggest that they are very worried about what they're seeing out there, because they would not be doing it with full information. They would be doing it with some of those high frequency indicators that are useful and are current, but they don't always give you a perfectly accurate steer about what's coming. So it would be a bold move. Hopefully we don't get to that, and some of the positive signs we saw last week will continue, because oil prices obviously came down on the back of that news flow on Friday night. But it is a watch this space. If I had to guess right now, then my view would be we are not as likely as that to see a July OCR hike, and that we won't see as many as 3 before the end of the year. But I do tend to be an optimist, which means I tend to take the glass half full outlook. But that's where we're at anyway in terms of market expectations. So CPI Tuesday morning, 10:45, that'll be the local highlight. Internationally, lots to watch as well. Flash PMIs for April will be one of the highlights for me. A PMI is a purchasing managers index, so it's essentially a survey-based activity indicator. The word flash suggests that it is the early release of these. It means they haven't done the full survey. They're sort of 70 or 80% through the survey, and you get those early results. So they're useful to us, economists, analysts, market watchers, because we get the flash readings earlier and sooner than we will get the full readings, and they give you a pretty good steer about where things are headed. So these will be released for Australia, for Japan, for the UK, Europe, and the US. They'll start on Thursday morning and continue through that afternoon and into the evening. So the March indicators, unsurprisingly, signalled a fairly uncomfortable combination of falling growth and rising inflation pressures because of the outbreak of war. So we will be watching for how that changes, and if that changes. It might get worse, might stabilise, might be more of the same, who knows. But Thursday and Friday, those flash PMIs will obviously be very interesting. The reporting season as well, this will continue, the international reporting season that is. This is for the March 2026 quarter, started last week with some of the big banks, Netflix, PepsiCo, a couple of others. Pretty good so far, but it's early days. Analysts are still expecting fairly healthy earnings growth for the quarter, to the tune of about 13% per annum for the aggregate S&P 500. So those estimates have actually increased from 3 months ago. So people are still upbeat despite everything that is going on. We'll hear from some of the defence companies this week. There's RTX, there's Lockheed Martin, a couple of materials businesses, Newmont, Freeport McMoran, a couple of technology exposures, Tesla, IBM, Intel, SAP, and lots of others too, 3M, L'Oreal, Thermo Fisher, Procter & Gamble. So really something for everyone on the earnings front. But I think the highlight will be some of those geopolitical issues. We'll be focusing on the US and Iran, obviously that ceasefire, which is due to expire on Tuesday. So will we see a resolution before then? Maybe we'll see an extension to the ceasefire to allow both sides more time to negotiate. Whatever happens, it is a pretty fragile situation, as you can see from some of the conflicting news reports just over the last 3 or 4 days. Is the Strait open, or is the Strait not open? We might see markets give back some of those Friday night gains as well, if it turns out that it's not reopening as quickly as we were all hoping for. Something else to watch this week as well is that on Tuesday, the US Banking Senate Committee will hold a confirmation hearing for Kevin Warsh. Now, that is President Trump's nominee to replace Jerome Powell as the new Federal Reserve Chair. Powell's term is due to expire in May, so next month, and Kevin Warsh is Trump's nominee as a replacement. So we'll be watching that Senate hearing on Tuesday in the US, and particularly some of the Q&A that might occur at that hearing. All right, that's all for today, team. Thanks for listening. Take care and enjoy your week.
For more insights, visit craigsip.com.